Yes, sir, we're officially back at it. This is Boog Nice coming at you with the Marvel Legends Walgreens exclusive Mr. Fantastic figure review. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini matey I'm fucking with. Hype beast we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about it.
And a quick look at the artwork on the side of the box. It is the same on the left and the right flap. Has this sticker been on all of the Walgreens exclusive figures? I don't know. I feel like this is the first time I'm seeing this. Let me know in the comments if you know. All right. Got Reed Richards, a.k.a. Mr. Fantastic, out of the package, and this is a good figure. It's a solid figure. I'm not instantly in love with the figure, but I do recognize that it is absolutely the best 6-inch Mr. Fantastic that we have. Probably the only other Mr. Fantastic that can rival this one is the one that Hasbro put out that was like completely stretched out. That's still a pretty solid figure in my opinion. I believe that was from the Ronin Build-A-Figure wave. I guess I'll break him out at some point. But as far as just regular powered down Mr. Fantastic, this is definitely a solid offering. Not too many accessories with Reed. He comes with the ultimate nullifier, which you can see in his right hand here, and it looks like his hand was purposely fixed so that way he can hold it without a problem, and that looks cool. This is sort of like a throwback to the early 90s or classic Fantastic Four, or I don't know, like mid-range Fantastic Four. This is something that I remember from my childhood, the Ultimate Nullifier. I remember them having, on the Marvel cards, they had one card in particular that had like certain like gadgets. It might have been more than one card, maybe like a series of cards, but they had like different gadgets from the Marvel Universe, and the Ultimate Nullifier was one of those things that was just the ultimate nullifier. You know, it was pretty much the cheat code to end any situation, and would only be used in some dire circumstance. But it was cool that they included this in here. Real quick, his bio reads, a master inventor and impressive shapeshifter, Reed Richards uses intelligence and flexibility to protect the universe as Mr. Fantastic. But aside from the ultimate nullifier, he comes with a couple of interchangeable arms, which I'll get into real quick. And before I swap out the arms, it should be noted that both of his hands can pop off. So if you have other figures with black gloved hands, then you do have some other options for hands. And there's how he looks without the arms plugged in. Those pop off with no issue. So it should be an easy task to get the elongated arms on. That was a really simple swap, and to me it looks like these are the same arms that we got with that older Hasbro Mr. Fantastic that I mentioned in the beginning of the video. It looks like the hands are fixed in the same position. These may be the same arms and they just reused them. It would make sense. I mean, that was a Hasbro release. It was not Toy Biz, so I would assume that Hasbro has access to the parts. But yeah, these can move up and down and left and right here on at the shoulder, but they also have some bendy wire in there. I don't feel like it's the easiest to flex these and manipulate them. I feel like the other arms that we got on the older Mr. Fantastic were a little easier to manipulate, but it was a nice touch to put these in there. I would have liked to see them put in a couple of more interchangeable hands and maybe some options for the legs and stuff like that too, but it was cool to include these. Now this is our third Walgreens exclusive Fantastic Four member. We're just waiting for the Thing, which they actually showed a picture of at Toy Fair this past weekend. I guess he'll pop up on the screen. Thing looks to be good. As far as I know, from what I hear, he's going to have a couple of interchangeable heads and a couple of interchangeable hands. So that should be interesting, and it's going to be good to have a nice, clean, streamlined Fantastic Four. It looks like it's going to be our best version of the Fantastic Four yet. So looking at Mr. Fantastic's buck, I believe that this is a mashup. It looks like the lower torso might be Pizza Spidey or something like that. It seems like that with the feet. I'm not 100% sure on that, but the upper torso seems to be a little different. This might be new, but I do think it looks good for his body. I don't like how this arm was a little warped out of the package. I'm gonna have to do a little hot water, cold water trick to fix that, but the actual buck here is pretty nice, and it looks pretty good for Reed, who is not like a super muscular guy. He's like Slim Diesel. So I do think they picked a good buck, or mashed up a good buck here. And honestly, it might just be the legs that are Pizza Spidey's. I don't feel like this pelvis is Pizza Spidey, so this might be a true mashup, or it could be something totally new. I'm not sure. I should have asked Dwight or one of the guys that at Toy Fair. Taking a close look at his head sculpt, which I think is okay. I don't know, something seems a little off to me. I do think it's decent. Maybe there could have been a bit more gray hair on the sides and a bit more detail in the hair. The hair looks very soft. I don't know. The brown portion kind of looks like pudding. I don't know. I think the paint on the hair could have been different. I saw two versions of this guy up close, and this was the better of the two that I saw up close, because the eyebrows on the second one were a little off. I don't know if the right eyebrow is supposed to be kind of raised like that or what, but the other one that I saw just seemed a bit more off. And I don't know if it's just his lower jaw that looks a little strange. I don't know what it is. I can't really put my finger on it, but I'm not like totally in love with this head sculpt, although I do think it's decent. It's not horrible. But yeah, everything else looks pretty clean. The 4 emblem is very clean. No real paint imperfections on the costume. This is sort of like a modern look. This can go from any kind of recent era up through everything that happened with Secret Wars and all of that stuff. So, or Brubaker's run on Fantastic Four. You know, you can use this particular costume and the costumes of his teammates for a lot of modern stuff. So that's good. And in terms of articulation, you do get a pretty good range of motion on this guy. Head is on a ball joint. It'll look down, it'll look up, it'll pop off with no issue. We'll get into that shortly. Turn left to right, do a little bit of pivot. Shoulders are on a ball joint. They're going to come up pretty far. You can actually do a full 360, upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, swivel and a hinge on the wrist. Ab crunch, going to get one click going forward and just a couple going back. I wish the articulation for the ab and upper torso was a little bit better. T-joint at the pelvis, legs will come up just that far. A split will look like that. Upper thigh swivel, double jointed knee. Nothing at the upper boot. You do get a hinge and a pivot on the foot. I do wish that the range of motion on this guy was a bit deeper. I mean, you know, that's part of his power set, is that he can stretch and he's real agile and he can do things that no other normal human being can do. So they should have really explored a deeper range of motion with the articulation on this buck. But it is good. I mean, it's standard good articulation for one of the males from Marvel Legends. So going through a few size comparisons and maybe a couple swaps here. On the left, you have the old Toy Biz box set Mr. Fantastic, and you can see how awful that looks. But you know what? When this came out, we were pretty much in awe of the articulation at the very least. It was decent articulation. I believe that there was a couple of versions of the box set. There was a box set that had like the regular sort of classic looking uniform, and then there was another version in that box set that had like their what sort of looked like an ultimate version of their costumes, if I'm not mistaken. I guess a picture of that'll pop up too. And then on the right, we have Hasbro's release where they did 2-packs. There was a 2-pack with Mr. Fantastic and Thing, I believe, and then the other one had Johnny Storm and Sue Storm, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe I'll have a picture of that to pop up. But it was pretty much the same buck as the old Toy Biz one, just with a more sort of modern looking costume. And you can see the head sculpts are pretty much the same, just the paint is different. But you can also see, like a lot of my comparisons as of late, that Hasbro has really mastered the art of making a good-looking body that looks more anatomically correct and aesthetically just looks better and looks more realistic and more like an actual person. You know, the proportions on these old Toy Biz and Hasbro bucks here, or Toy Biz and Hasbro figures, because it's pretty much the same buck if I'm not mistaken, but they just don't look realistic. They look a little odd. So definitely you can see that this new Walgreens exclusive here is the superior of the three here. And then there he is next to the Ronin Build-A-Figure Wave version that I was referring to. And I looked at the arms and compared them to the arms that come with this new Walgreens version, and they definitely are the same. So it's the same arms from this older version that you get with this newer version. They're just painted differently. And I have him sitting down because he's pretty tall. But this was a decent figure. You know, there was you could flex him at the lower torso or below where his abdomen is, and the arms and the legs had decent articulation, and this was actually a pretty cool figure for some action shots, you know. But even at the time when this came out, I think people were still yearning for a good, just regular powered down version. And on the right you can see Submariner, and I think they're about the right size between the two of them. I mean, Namor should be a bit bigger than Mr. Fantastic in base form, I would say. And just so you can see that, like I said, he is pretty tall. And in case you need more confirmation, same. And same there as well. Here you go, same fixed position for the hands. And there's a look at how the crew's looking so far. We got Sue Storm on the left and Johnny Storm on the right. And I have my gripes with the team so far. I don't like that we didn't get a extra interchangeable hand arm for Sue, so it doesn't look like she's always using her powers. And I didn't like the way that they colored the head on Human Torch. In fact, I have a alternate Human Torch with a different head that was painted by my man Craig Warwick. I guess I'll show that in a second, but to basically match up the color of the head with the rest of the body. And I don't like the fact that we don't have a powered down Johnny either. But I did see my man JD do something earlier. I guess I could try that real quick too. But you know, things are coming along okay, but you know, I want to see them really go the distance. I did ask about maybe getting another Fantastic Four box set with all of them in the future, and the Hasbro guys didn't seem like they were opposed to that. So you know, there's still possibilities out there. But yeah, there's my other torch painted by my man Craig Warwick, so you can see how much better that looks. And I don't know why Hasbro couldn't do this from the jump. And then there's a look at that. Like I said, my man JD did this first, my man Steve. But what he did was he painted the hair a little bit too to make it a bit more blonde. But this kind of works for a powered down Johnny. If you get an extra Mr. Fantastic body, use his head, paint the hair so it looks a little more blonde. And that should be decent. So yeah, shout out to JD for being the first to do this. But this is the unmasked head that came with the Captain America from the Winter Soldier movie, I believe. It was like the stealth suit version or something like that. So yeah, you can do that if you have this figure. So yeah, we're definitely on track to have the best version of Fantastic Four that we ever had. But you know, there's definitely still a few little minor issues and a few things that you're probably going to have to work out on your own in terms of paint and swaps and things of that nature. No big deal, but this is still a solid offering and still one that I would definitely recommend. I mean, you can't pass up on this. You got to get a nice streamlined First Family and 6-inch form. So get out there. Shout out to my man Los, who actually got this for me out in Kentucky and sent it out to me. I believe Kentucky was the first place that these popped up. So they're starting to trickle out a little bit, but you know, it's kind of scattered. But they'll be in Walgreens everywhere sooner than later. So don't jump out the window and pay too much for this figure. I'm sure they'll be everywhere soon. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. As always, rate, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.